Static designs are boring. Want to make your UI come alive? Learn how to create smooth interactive prototype in Figma fast. In this course, you will learn micro interaction, create engaging buttons animations, page transitions, design smooth navigation flows, smart animate, bring your UI elements to life. Hands-on project learning by building real prototypes. No fluff, just practical skill. Whether you are beginner or UI UX designer, this course will make you a pro at prototyping and animation in no time. Okay, so now as we can see, we are inside in Figma. In this course, we will not focusing on UI design. We will be only focusing on prototyping and animation. So this is just a quick warm-up video for prototyping in Figma. If you are new to prototyping, this video is perfect for you guys to understand how exactly Figma prototyping works. In the next video, we will start a prototyping practical project. So let's start. First we need to select frame, so let's click on this frame, and as we can see on the right side we have multiple presets of frames Figma provides, so we can select iPhone 16, and as we can see our frame is created. First we need to rename this, so this is screen 1. Okay, now simply create some elements here. So let's select our rectangle and let's draw a rectangle shape. Okay, so as we can see, this is how we can create rectangle center line, and next we need to change the color of the rectangle. Okay, so now let's select our first frame. Just press Command D on the keyboard, and as we can see, screen 2 is created. And in the second screen, let's quickly change this, and let's change the color of this rectangle to this green. Now let's select our first frame, click on prototype, and as we can see, first we need to select show prototyping settings, and here as we can see, this is iPhone 16, so Figma by default select iPhone 16 mockup for us. Okay, so here we can change the color. So as we can see, colors of the background, and we can simply change it. So let's leave it this blue color, and we can use portrait and landscape, and let's change the font color. So let's make it teal, or maybe let's use this pink color, and here we can simply change to the other devices if you want. So we have already created our font size, so let's stick with iPhone 16. Next we need to click on our first frame again. As we can see here, we see the plus with the circle, so let's create our first noodle. So click and drag. As we can see, Figma create this link which is called noodle, so let's drag noodle and connect it to screen 2. Now here is the fun part start. As we can see, the first option is trigger, then action, then destination, animation, curve, and duration. So these are the main magic parts of Figma prototyping. Okay, so first let's select by default this on tape, and let's check what's happening. Okay, so let's select this, and as we can see, this is flow 1 and here is our flow 1. So let's select this, rename this to prototype, and here is the interaction, and as we can see, we can simply change this from here, and this is available if we want to change anything. Let's quickly preview. Click on this play icon, and as we can see, our phone is appear when I tap, and this is changed to this screen. This is the basic of prototyping. Okay, now let's click on this, and instead on tap, let's use on drag. So for the on drag, we will simply again click on preview and simply drag this, so it will move to screen 2. Now let's change this to while hovering, and this is interesting. Let's check while I'm hovering. As we can see, this is on the second state, and now first state while hovering, second state, and first state. So it will change while hovering. So this is best for button hover effect or any hover animation we want, so we can create while hovering. Okay, now let's quickly see the other properties while pressing. So let's click and preview, and once I press, as we can see, this will change. So let's quickly change this to key and gamepad. Okay, let's discuss the key slash gamepad. For this we need to assign keyboard key, and it will trigger the animation. So let's say if I press spacebar, as we can see, space is here, so it will trigger the animation. This time let's click on this play. We can also create a separate window, and it will show our prototype. And as we can see, this is color we assign to the background, and this is our phone in a separate window. We can preview in two types. One is like this way, present way, which is a separate page, and here we can preview, and other one is like preview, and this one is present. As we can see, I am clicking and this is not working, but once I press spacebar and this works. Okay, so this is how gamepad work. And let's change this to mouse enter, mouse leave, touch up, touch down. These are the same functions like the above. You can test it and see how it is working, but the most important one is after delay. We will be using this feature the most, so let's quickly reveal this and click select after delay. And here we need to assign time, like that much time we need. After this time complete, the animation play itself. Okay, so like for example, we set the trigger and select the trigger after delay, and here we assign the time 800 millisecond. Let's say if we make it 1000 milliseconds, which is equal to 1 second. And now our action is to navigate to screen 2 and smart animate ease out. Leave these, we will discuss it shortly, but let's quickly test it out. Okay, so I will be using this window again, and as we can see, after 1 second animation play itself. This is a really cool feature. Now let's see, we have discovered all these features for the trigger, and now it's time to look at the action. So for the action, we will be not discussing these features, we will be only use this navigate to feature, and this is basically the destination. So we want Figma to like specify the destination. So this is first screen and the destination will be second screen, so it is automatically selected while we create our noodle. Okay, next we need to define the animation. So for the animation, let's say I select instant first. Okay, so let's start with the instant first, and let's quickly preview this. So after 1 second, instantly the state B, like the second screen appears. Okay, let's preview it again after 1 second, and quickly nothing happened, and just instantly screen 2 is appear. Okay, and if you want to replay our action, so just press R on the keyboard, and as we can see, it's reload again. We will be using this shortcut a lot, so no problem, you will learn very easily. Okay, so now as we can see, now let's make it dissolve. Quickly preview this, and as we can see, this is like a dissolve effect. And let's now change to smart animate. This is the most using feature, and this is the most advanced feature if you want to create some cool looking animation. And let's select it, quickly see this. Okay, so let's click on this play button, and as we can see, after 1 second, smart animate. So the smart animate basically creating link between the first state and the second state, and it shows like a seamless way. So in this way, as we can see, press R again to reload our animation. This is looking great. So it seems like the rectangle is small and then it's become bigger, and this is how smart animate work. Okay, but make sure that we don't need to change the color of the name of the rectangle. Like for example, in state A, rectangle 1, here as we can see rectangle 1, and state B, here is also rectangle 1. If we change this to, let's say, rectangle 2, so now as we can see, the link between these two rectangle is broken. Now we have a link for the page, but smart animate will not work. As we can see, there is no movement between two rectangles. Okay, so make sure you have the same name for both rectangle, and let's make it rectangle 1 for both. It will work. And as we can see, we can simply change this to, for example, if I make this fully round, make it 99, and now let's click on prototype, and this time I will be using shortcut, so shift spacebar, and as we let's click shift spacebar, and looking great, circle to rectangle. This is how it will work. Okay, so now select again, and here let's change this to, okay, so now we know the smart animate, and you can also preview these features. You can practice and check. Okay, now let's move to like these features. Okay, these are the important ones. So let's start with the linear, and let's quickly check this. As we can see, linear is like a smooth animation from start to end, so there will be no like bouncing or anything. Like first state and second state, both animation will work in the same flow. Now let's first check the ease in feature. Okay, so let's quickly preview ease in, and it starts slow and then become normal. Okay, so this is how ease in work. This will now ease out. So ease out will, like for example, it will fast load and then become easier at the end. So let's quickly check this, and as we can see, for some cases we will be using different as we need. So we will be using this feature a lot, ease in and out. It will load with the ease, and in the center it will stay constant, and at the end it will ease out. So let's quickly check this, ease in, ease out. You can quickly check these all features, and later in the course we will learn these in practical way, so you can practice. And this is how the basic of prototyping, and stay tuned for the course. Okay, now it's time to work on the real project, and this is basically a sign up low process, and let's start. So first we need to select all these 4 frames, and next we need to click on this rotate 90 degree, and let's make it 0. and inside spacing let's type 200. So now as we can see our layout is in vertical format and this is looking perfect. Now let's start and creating our first screen animation. So for this we need to duplicate this screen. So let's select screen and press F key on the keyboard, so these blue circle appears. So now let's click on this plus, and as we can see we duplicate our screen, duplicate one more time. So this is basically for the background, this is for the logo, this is for the title, and this is for the progress bar and button. Okay, so this is how we need to create copy of the same screen. And now let's quickly rename this. So this one will be background, the second one will be, let's make this one is progress bar, and this one will be logo. Okay, so now as we can see we have created multiple copy of the get started screen. So let's start from the background. We will delete all the elements except the background. So let's delete all these elements and we only need background here. Okay, in this screen we will also remove all the elements except progress bar. And for the logo we will repeat the same process. Okay, so now we need to work on the background. So here as we can see this is the frame and we created ellipse, and for the ellipse we apply this blue color, and here is blur property. So in this frame for the background animation we will learn how to animate background blur. Also we will adjust opacity. So these two property we will learn in this background animation. Okay, so let's select background and press option command K on the keyboard to create component, and we can also use the shortcut. Okay, so now let's create component of background. So we can select background frame and we can click here in this icon, or we can use the shortcut key. So let's use the shortcut key option command K, and as we can see we convert this to component. And now let's create the variant of the same component. So let's select background and click on this plus to create variant, and this is variant 2. Now press command D on the keyboard, variant 3, and we'll duplicate one more time. So now as we can see we created 4 variants of the same background. Now let's click on the background main frame and let's add some spacing. So 100 is fine, and let's click on resize to fit option. Okay, so we need to visible all the frame inside our component frame. So now we will start from the first frame. So let's double click and select ellipse. Let's make it slightly off the frame, something like this. Okay, and as we can see our ellipse frame is here outside of the frame. In the second frame we want the ellipse to be on the left side, something like this. Okay, in the third frame we want our ellipse to be at the bottom in this corner. Okay, and in the in the fourth frame we need the ellipse to be somewhere here. So this is how we create our background ellipse position. And now let's change the ellipse property. So let's select ellipse and click on the layer blur, and here we will make it 500 blur. And also at the same time let's change the opacity by pressing the numbers key on the keyboard. So let's try 70% or 60% for the second frame. For the third one let's change first the blur property. So let's make it 400, and also change the opacity. So let's make it 50%, and here we need to change the blur property. So let's try 700. Okay, now let's connect all these frame together inside prototype, and then we will preview the animation. So let's click on the prototype, and inside prototype click on the plus and drag noodle to the second frame. And let's change the trigger to after delay and make it 1 millisecond. Action change to property variant 2, and animation smart animate. We will use smart animate. For the curve instead of ease in ease out we will use linear. So we want linear animation, and for this duration let's try 300. So then we will see the difference and we will update it later. Okay, so this is the basic property for the first and second frame. Let's create another noodle and connect third screen, which is variant 3, and this will be also after delay 1 millisecond. We want instant without any delay, and let's make it smart animate linear and 300. Okay, and now let's create fourth screen and let's make it after delay 1 millisecond, change property to variant 4, smart animate linear 300. Now we need to drag copy of this to preview. So let's select background first frame and press option key on the keyboard, and let's create copy of this. Now it's time to preview our animation and change it if there is any modification needed. So press shift and spacebar on the keyboard. Now press R again to replay, press R again. So now our animation is looking good, but we need to reduce the speed. For reducing the speed of the animation, let's click on the prototype tab again, click after delay, and here we need to make it, instead of 300, let's try 3000 millisecond. Okay, select the same for the second one, we will make it 3000, and let's change for this one to 3000. Okay, let's check. I think we didn't connect the last one to the first one for the loop animation. To once it's reached to the last frame, so it's restart again. So let's click on the last frame and connect it to the first frame again. Okay, so after delay 1 millisecond and also 3000. Okay, so now let's select the frame again, press shift spacebar on the keyboard, and as we can see, our animation is looking very smooth and gentle, and our background is moving. Here is some blur animation. So in this background we learned two type of animation, like the blur property and the opacity. We change opacity and blur in this background, and we created this cool looking effect. And now let's click on the design tab and select this frame, press command X on the keyboard, and let's replace it with this. So click on paste to replace, and center line both vertical and horizontal. Now select this frame and press shift spacebar on the keyboard, and as we can see, our background is animating, and which is looking perfect. Okay, now it's time to work on the progress bar, and we will do the same thing for the progress bar. Press option command K to convert this to component, and now let's click on the add variant property. Here we need to create 3 variants, so press command D again to duplicate one more time, so variant 3. And now let's add some spacing between the frames. So let's click on the main frame, and here inside spacing let's type 100 as we did for the previous one. So as we can see, our third frame is cut off inside this frame. So let's click on this master frame and let's select resize to fit option, so it will reveal third frame. And now as we can see, we will do the progress bar it will start from this position. Here in this frame we will complete our progress bar. In the third frame we will make it hide. So for this, let's select the second frame. Now let's first check the size. So here we need to simply make it 180 to make it simple. So let's center line, and we will do the same thing here, 180 for this one to make it easy for us to remember, and 180 here, here 180. Okay, so now we make it 180 for the second one. Like the first position is here, and in the second we need to increase the width of this rectangle, so let's make it 180. Here our progress bar is completed, and here we need to make it 0 opacity. Okay, so we need opacity to 0 to finish our progress bar. So now click on the prototype and select the first frame, drag noodle to the second one, and select after delay, make it 1 millisecond, and change to this smart animate linear is fine. And also let's try 3000 millisecond here, and let's make it after delay 1 millisecond, smart animate, and let's make it instant. So we don't need any smart animate for the hide option, so we need quick instant. So let's close this, and now let's press option key on the keyboard and drag copy of component, and shift spacebar on the keyboard. And now let's quickly preview, looking perfect, and hide, which is looking good. Now let's repeat it again by pressing R key on the keyboard. Complete and done. So now let's select our progress bar, click on the design tab and press command X on the keyboard and paste to replace. Now center line. Okay, as we can see here, let's select our progress bar and press enter key and return key. Okay, and remove the background. So remove the fill, we will make it transparent. Here we don't need background. So now let's quickly preview. So as we can see, our background is moving, our progress bar is also animating. Let's restart it again, and looking perfect. Later we will also adjust the timing of each animation. Okay, so now it's time to work on the logo and create animation for the logo. So we will do the same thing. We'll select logo frame, press option command K to convert this to component. Let's click on the plus, and I think let's create 4 variants for the logo. As we can see, we have created 4 copy of the same frame. Now let's add some spacing between the frames. So select logo frame and click 100, and as we can see, our 4th frame is cut off. So let's click on the resize to fit option to visible all the 4 frames here. Okay, so now let's zoom in and start from the first frame. So here we need to select this first logo frame, and here we need to turn on our white fill. This is vector shape. As we can see, this is vector frame, and here is also fill, but it is not visible here. So let's turn on, and here we will make a corner radius to 99 to fully round. It is a circle. Instead of logo, we can simply drag it outside of the frame. So our animation will start from here, and also lock aspect ratio, and here let's try to use 24 for the width and height and center line. So it is important to center line, and we will reduce the width and height. So let's make it 24, and now select second frame, and here we will also do the same thing here and make it fully round. So make it 99, align it to the bottom, and here we did 16, I think 24. So let's double the size. So let's make it 40 or 48. I think 40 is fine, so let's make it 40. And in this screen, third one, we will make it same property like turn on fill color and also fully round it. Let's slightly make it up, and in the 4th frame the logo will be in the final position. Okay, so here we will add one more property, and let's try transform. Okay, so let's make it 180. Now let's quickly link frames so that we can preview the animation. So click on the prototype, select first frame, drag noodle to the second one, and let's make it after delay 1 millisecond, and instead of instance let's try to use smart animate, and this time we will use ease in and out. Okay, ease in and out, and let's make the animation smooth. So let's try 600. Select the second frame, let's connect it to the third frame. After delay 1 millisecond, ease in ease out, smart animate 600. Let's quickly change it to the after delay 1 millisecond, and ease in ease out, smart animate, and also 600 milliseconds. So now let's quickly grab copy. So by pressing option key, and let's duplicate our screen, press shift spacebar, and as we can see, just looking good. And we will do the same thing for the logo. To press enter to select all subframe of this main frame and remove the background. So minus background, and we want the logo animation to be transparent. So press command X on the keyboard. Here we will simply select our logo. Okay, so as we can see, we slightly need to adjust. Okay, so here is our background, and here is our progress bar. So let's drag the progress bar on the top of the background, and now we can select our logo and paste to replace. Also center line, bring the logo after. So now once we click on the space bar, so all the animation play at one time, because we set our after delay 1 millisecond, so every element start animating at the same time. So we will adjust it later, but now we will focus on only animations. Okay, so now it's time to create our title animation. So click on the title frame and press shift 2 on the keyboard to zoom to selection. First thing we will do is to convert this to component by option command K to convert this to component. And before creating variants, let's slightly do some changes, and then we will create variants. Okay, so let's double click here. As we can see, original spacing, and this is basically auto layout. So let's increase it to maybe let's make it minus. Okay, so let's try minus 48 center line. So now as we can see, we remove the spacing, and this is the initial state, and we will do one more change. Okay, so let's draw a rectangle, center line. Now let's click on the effects. From the drop down, select layer blur. Okay, and let's make it 50 blur. And now let's quickly change the color of the blur. So let's make it the same of the background color, dark. And now send it to bake. We need this frame at the top, rectangle at the bottom. So now select both and create mask. Now select rectangle, make it outside of the main frame. Okay, something like this. Okay, now we need to select our frame and create variant. So now let's create the second variant. Let's quickly create third variant and fourth variant. Okay, now we need to select main frame, and we will add some spacing here. So let's make it 100. Now we can animate our second frame. So now let's first adjust the second frame. So inside the second frame we need to select rectangle and center line. Also we will make it 32 center line. Now in the third frame we need to do the same process, center line. In the previous one here is 32, and in this one let's make it bouncy animation. So let's try 8 center line, and here at variant 4 we can simply align this to center, and also let's make it original size, which is 16, and center line. Okay, so now let's connect this by prototyping and create some animation. So let's click on the prototype tab. Now let's connect this to second frame. As we know, we will make it animation, so after delay will work. So 1 millisecond, smart animate, ease in, ease out, 600 millisecond. Okay, so let's quickly link this and make it after delay 1 millisecond, and smart animate, ease in, ease out. And let's create third and fourth link, and here make it after delay 1 millisecond, and smart, ease in, ease out, and 600. Okay, so now quickly create copy. So let's press option key and create copy. Okay, let's preview this. So press shift spacebar, and this is how the cool looking animations. Okay, so before placing the title we need to select the main frame, press enter and return key, and remove the background. Okay, we don't need background with the title. Now press command X on the keyboard, and now let's change title, right click, paste to replace, center line. Now press shift spacebar, and let's quickly preview our animation. Now everything is looking perfect. Okay, so now as we can see we have completed all these. So now it's time to create our button animation. So for the button, let's select button frame and press shift 2 on the keyboard to zoom in, and we will do the same thing for the button. Convert this to component by pressing option command K, and now let's create variant. For the variant we will click this, and as we can see we have created variant. So now let's create 3-4 variants for the button, and we will see for the animation. So now work on the spacing, make it 100, and also as we can see the frame is cut out, so let's make it resize to fit. Okay, so let's start. First we need to select, in this first state we need the button to be outside of the page. Let's first apply effect. Okay, let's click on effects and make it layer blur, and here we will make it 50%, so it will be completely blur, also outside of the screen, something like this. So in this state button is outside of the screen. Now button appears. Okay, like this one will be a hover state. So for the hover state, what I'm thinking that we can increase the shadow of the button. So once user hover or tap, basically this is mobile, so there is no hover, but for the class let's think about as a web. So let's make it 16 and 32. Also increase the shadow slightly, like 60%. Okay, so as we can see now, once user hover on mouse, so it will increase the shadow, and this will how as a button work. And I think we don't need this state here, so let's delete the state 4, variant 4, and let's click on resize to fit to resize the frame. Okay, and now simply link this so that we can see is it working or not. So the first frame will link to the second variant after delay 1 millisecond, and smart animate, ease in, ease out, and 600, which is fine. And now for this state I'm thinking that we don't need to link the whole page. We will simply select the specific element like this button, and now click on the plus and create noodle to third state, and here make it while hovering. Again this is not applicable for the mobile, but it's okay, we can create it. Okay, so let's leave it smart animate, ease in, ease out, 600. And as we can see now, let's click on design option and create copy. Now press shift enter, shift spacebar, and as we can see the animation. Now let's replay. So this is how the button loads, and once I hover on the button, so we see the shadow. We can also increase the text size and button height. We can do many things like round the buttons, but this is how you can animate button. Okay, and we will do the same thing here. Click on this master frame and press enter and remove the background. Okay, we don't need background, and let's select this frame, command X, and here we need to replace it with the button. So let's click on the button and paste to replace. Okay, and now let's center line. So now as we can see, let's quickly align the layer. So the first thing need to be like status bar, so this is at the top, and background, progress bar, logo, press shift spacebar, and as we can see everything is moving. And now once I click, now we need to create times. So like first we need to create background animation, then progress bar, then logo, title, and at the last we need buttons appear. So this is how we need to create. Okay, so now it's time for the class project, and the class project is to animate the status bar and the home indicator. Share it with me so that I can review. Please definitely work on these two and animate it. See you in the next video. Okay, so I assume that you did the class project, and I also did, because if you guys don't know how to create and do animation, so I did, and let me share what I did. Okay, so let's select frame and press shift spacebar. So as we can see, this is slightly animating from outside to the frame, and this is slightly bouncing animation. Let's preview one more time. As we can see, this is bouncing animation and this is slide in. Okay, so let's replace it with the actual status bar. So now we need to select the main frame, press enter, and select inside frame, remove the background. We don't need background. Now select the frame and we will replace it with the original. So let's delete this one and let's right click, paste to replace. Okay, so far so good. So now let's quickly preview our animation, and as we can see, let's click on this frame and press shift 2 to zoom to selection, and press shift spacebar to preview it quickly. And as we can see, now we have one issue. Everything is looking perfect, but every element is load immediately, so we don't need this. For example, we want this immediate action only for the background and progress indicator, also for the status bar. Once these are completed, then we need to load the logo animation, and after the logo we need to load title animation, and also after all the animation complete, we need button at the end. Okay, so let's timely specific all the elements. So let's start. First we need to check the background. So the background is like click on the prototype, and as we can see, set the background to 1 millisecond, which is good, and it will be immediately load background animation, which is fine. And also for the progress bar, I think 1 millisecond is fine, so let's leave it. For the logo, now let's, like for example, what I'm thinking, that once this animation is complete, we need then the logo animation start. So let's see if I make it 2000, like 2 seconds. So let's check and preview, press shift spacebar, and as we can see, now logo is quickly load as the progress bar load. Also we can do one thing, like we can click on this and we can specific, like we don't need button, so we can hide the button, we can hide the title, we can only focus on these elements like logo, progress bar, and background. Okay, so let's quickly preview, and as we can see, logo load slightly quickly. So let's increase the time of the logo. Click on the prototype after delay, and let's make it 3000. Now again let's preview this. Animation load and logo start, looking good. Now let's turn on the title. Simply 3 seconds for the logo. So for the title, let's double this. Let's make it 6000. Press enter and let's quickly preview it. Okay, progress bar, logo. Why it's not working? Okay, so let's try to make it, instead of 6, let's try 5 seconds, and let's see it is working or not. It's looking good. So let's make it 5000 for the title, and let's now specific for the button. So now it an issue, don't know why this is happening. So let's make it 7 seconds, and let's see. It's working good, everything is looking perfect, and also the hover is working good, and the background is animating. And this is how we create our basic animation for our UI UX project. Now it's time to work on the second screen. So let's quickly preview our second screen. Click and press shift spacebar, and now as we can see in this screen, we can animate this active state and this cursor, which will be blinking, so the user can feel that this is active state. Also once the user tap on this eye icon, so it will hide and unhide icon, it will change or swap with the hide and unhide icon, and also tapping on this to check and uncheck. So let's start. Okay, first we need to select this screen, and press Command C on the keyboard, paste it here. Let's start first active state. Let's double click and select this specific group, which is steps and inside frame. So let's copy and paste it here. Press Shift 2 on the keyboard to zoom to selection. Now as we can see in this frame, let's expand it and let's see what inside. So here is this white circle, blue circle, and 20% transparent blue circle, which is slightly bigger, like 32. So now let's simply, what we can do, we can add one more circle. So let's select this wave circle and let's simply duplicate this. Now we will simply make this one and make it bigger, as same size like this white circle, and this one will be 32. Okay, so now select main frame and convert this to component by Option Command K, and let's quickly create variant. Variant 2 is created. Now select this component frame and increase both width and height. Okay, and align it to the center. Now let's increase the size of this wave layer, and which is 32, so let's try make it 64. Now as we can see, this is 64 and we need to drop the opacity to 0. So let's click inside opacity and make it 0. So select this wave layer and increase it to 32. Okay, now simply we need to connect it, and click on the prototype and select this frame and connect it to this one. We will make it after delay 1 millisecond change to, and let's make this one smart animate, and linear is fine. We can also make it ease in ease out, but it will not work, so let's make it linear. We want some linear effect. Also let's try 300 for now, and then we will adjust later. Okay, and we will connect the second one again to the first one to make some loop animation. So let's click and make it after delay 1 millisecond change to default smart animate 300. Okay, and now let's simply click on the design, create copy by Option key, and simply create frame around this element. Okay, center line, click on this white frame and press Shift spacebar. As we can see, now we need to slightly change the state to, so let's close this, click on this second state, click on prototype. Instead of smart animate, we need to make it instant. Okay, and now let's preview this. Working great, but we need to slightly reduce the speed. So select the first one and let's try 600 to make it slow down, and I think it's looking great. And let's press Command X, double click, right click, paste to replace, and now select the screen, Shift spacebar, and as we can see, this is working great. Now let's work on blanking cursor. Okay, so we need to select this cursor, which is in a separate frame, and as we can see inside frame, here is a text with the pipe symbol. Okay, so now select this whole frame, Command C, paste here, convert this to component by Option Command K, create variant. Variant 2 is fine, so let's press enter to select the inside element, which is this text, and press 0 on the keyboard, or we can make it 0 opacity here. Now simply select first one, click on prototype and link it to the second one, make it after delay 1 millisecond, and let's make it smart animate, and let's try 600 maybe is fine, which was the previous one. Let's try and connect this one back after delay 1 millisecond, smart animate, linear, and which is looking great. Okay, now simply click and with the option create copy, press Command X, double click, right click, and paste to replace. And now let's quickly preview. I think let's slightly reduce, so maybe 400 or 500, which will work great. So let's try, click on prototype, let's drag to select both, let's make it 400. Now select, I think it's looking more natural. Let's work on tapping show and hide icon. Okay, so now as we can see, we have these two icons. Now let's select both, and here we need to click on this arrow and select create component sets. Okay, so now as we can see, component set is created. We can simply click on this and select prototype, and this time we need to select on click. Okay, so let's select on click and smart animate, ease in ease out, and let's make it 300. And now select once user tap on it again, so it will go to state 1, on tap, hide, and smart animate, ease in ease out. And let's quickly test. So let's drag one icon with the option key and let's create frame. Let's change color of the frame to center line, click on the frame, shift spacebar. As we can see, once I hover, so this cursor icon is changed. Now tap on it, show and hide. Okay, now we need to simply select our icon with Command X. Let's replace it here, paste to replace, and now quickly preview this. As you can see, this wave animation cursor is blinking, and once I tap on it, so it will show the password. Okay, so now as we can see, we have created this click state. I am thinking it's slightly different. Like for example, if I user tap on it, so it will show the password. So let's quickly create this state. Okay, so now let's click on the design tab and select input field and copy, paste it here. Now let's simply create component, click and create variant. Okay, so this is variant 2. For the variant 2, we need to make it fully white, so it's now 50%, and let's press 0, so it will make it 100%. Same thing for the password. Let's change it to, so for example, this is my password, and now here we need a different icon. Okay, so this one is default icon and this one will be show password. So for this we need to select both icon with the option key, drag. Now delete this, we don't need, and simply select both and click detach instance. Now select first one, double click here and paste to replace, and select this one, Command X, double click and paste to replace. So now we need to select this icon, click on prototype. Once user tap on this icon, it will be a trigger on click, and smart animate ease in ease out and 300, which is from the previous animation. Okay, so let's try and select this one, click smart animate ease in ease out. Now let's click on the design tab and press option key, create copy, Command X, simply double click, right click, paste to replace. Now let's check it again. As we can see, everything is animating, and once I click on it, it is now showing the password. Click again and it will hide, show and hide. Let's make it, okay, so it is 300. Let's make it 200. Let's try dissolve and linear. Let's make it instant. So for the instant, as we can see, yeah, I think instant is looking perfect, and we need to stick with the instant. Okay, and now let's create untap. It will uncheck and check. Now press Command C, copy this check and paste it here, duplicate it, and let's delete the check, and let's copy the properties from this. This is basically default state, and the input is like 10% white and 20% white for the border. So let's make it white 10%, and for the stroke make it white and try 20%. Okay, so this is default state and this is active state, and check uncheck. So let's make, now select both, create component set and create copy, Command X, double click, right click, paste to replace. Okay, so now let's check again. Everything's looking great. We can see the password. Okay, we didn't connect these two together, so let's click on prototype and click. Okay, so unclick and untap, which is okay. Let's try smart animate. Let's use ease in ease out 200. Same thing for this state, so connected back, ease in ease out. Let's quickly check this. Working great, and this is how this page will look like. Also, let's try and untap. We can animate the shadow, so let's quickly create. Okay, so for the button, let's duplicate it. Okay, so let's create component again and create variant. Let's add some spacing, so 100, and resize to fit. Okay, so this one is default state and this one is click state. Okay, let's increase it. Okay, so for the click, let's click on the drop shadow, make it 16 and 32, and let's try 60%. Okay, now let's click on the prototype and unclick, ease in ease out. Now let's create copy with the option key, Command X, and paste to replace. Okay, so now as we can see, we have completed our step 1, and let's quickly preview it. Everything is looking perfect, and we have changed our password, and also this is working. I have changed this state while hovering. So now as you can see, because we will test it on desktop with mouse, we need a hover effect. So I changed this to hover and everything is looking perfect. Now let's press Command X, place it here. Okay, this is final version of this screen, and now we need to move to step 2 and let's quickly analyze screen 2. Okay, so press Shift spacebar, copy and paste the active state here. So it will animate once user click on the plus, so it will show the user picture, and we will keep this input on tape. So on tape it will show actual data and also the phone number. This is selected. We will change the button to while hovering. This is how we will do our step 2. So let's quickly start and create our step 2. So we need to press Command C on the keyboard, paste it here. Okay, now we need grab, copy and press Command X. Let's double click and paste to replace. Simply Shift spacebar, and as we can see, this is working. And now we need to click on this frame, Command C and paste it here. Okay, now let's simply convert this to component and add another variant. For this variant we need to simply remove this. We don't need this user icon, so let's delete the whole frame and we need to make it 100%. so let's try 100 and 100. Okay, we don't need stroke, and let's run the plugin. So here we need to search for user. Okay, so let's run this plugin, female, and select only female. Okay, this is looking great. And so let's select the frame, click on prototype, on click smart animate instant. We need to make it instant. This picture will appear. Now let's create copy and press Command X. Let's select the main frame, paste to replace, and now let's quickly check. So as we can see, animation is working once I click. Okay, so one thing I noticed that we need click on stroke and let's make it outside 2%, make it white, and let's use 20%. Okay, now let's press Shift spacebar, click, and everything's looking perfect. And now we need to create tape state for these two input. Okay, so let's select these input, Command C, paste it here. Now let's create component and create another variant. Okay, so for the initial, let's change this text to date of birth, and for this one here is actual date of birth, so let's make it white with the 100% opacity. Now let's click on prototype, select, on click instant, and this is how this input will work. Okay, so let's create copy with the option key, Command X. Let's simply paste to replace. Okay, so now let's test it again. Picture, click date of birth, and now we need to do it with the phone. So for the phone number, Command C, paste. Let's quickly create component by option Command K, create variant, and for this variant let's make it. Okay, so now let's click on prototype, connect, on click instant, press option key, create copy, Command X, simply double click, paste to replace. As usual, test it again. Picture, date of birth, phone number, and female is also selected. We can create, but in our previous video we have already created check, uncheck, so this will work for same for male and female, but let's leave it. Also let's replace the button. So for the button we can create copy and Command X, let's simply paste to replace, Shift spacebar, create picture, phone number, and while hovering, this is working perfect. And this is how our step 2 will look like. Now press Command X and paste it here. So now we need to work on this screen, and for this screen, as we can see, this is the final confirmation step, and we need to animate this confetti, which will be like here at 0 point, and it will move to 200% on scale. It will show some kind of animation. Okay, so this is the final state. So let's quickly create. Okay, so now we need to select our third step and press Command C on the keyboard, and let's place it here. First copy this animation, and we need to Command X on the keyboard and paste to replace. Okay, and let's quickly check this. It's working, and this is how we need to create one time, and we will reuse it again and again. Okay, now let's duplicate this screen. Now let's delete the status bar, home indicator. So on this screen we only need confetti. Now convert this to component and press option command K, and let's create variant first. So this is variant 2. Okay, so now we have created our state 1 and state 2. Let's add some spacing, so 100, and resize to fit option. Now we need for the first state the confetti to be very small, so let's try this size. Okay, maybe let's make it more small. So okay, next we need to press return key and enter key on the keyboard and transform it to 180 degree. Now let's make it to the bottom of the screen and also make it outside. So the first state we need to be outside of the screen, and in the second state press K. Let's scale it to 10x. Okay, drag it manually. So for this state we need to press return key again to select the inside elements. Let's make the opacity 0. Okay, and now simply create copy by pressing option key and shift spacebar. Oh, okay, now let's link this. Click prototype and link this. After delay, let's try 600 milliseconds variant 2 smart animate, ease in, ease out, and let's preview it. I think it's looking good. Last thing, we need to select master frame and return key, remove the background, and now select this frame, command X, paste to replace, center line, and send it to back. Okay, and now let's center line the text, also make the button closer to the text. Okay, so now we need to press shift spacebar, and this is how last screen will work. Okay, press R again. We can do a lot of things with the animation and this, but let's keep it simple, and this is how the last confirmation screen. And now press command X, paste it here. So this is how our updated screen. Now it's time to link all these screens together, and we will make it prototype. So we did animation, and now to link these screens to each other and make a clickable prototype. So in the next video we will do this. Okay, so far so good. So as we can see, we have completed our screen by screen animation, and now let's quickly recap. So this is the first screen animation, and as we can see, this is our get started page, and everything is looking perfect. Now let's preview our screen 2, which is first step, and everything's looking perfect. We can turn on and off and check uncheck. And now let's see our screen 3. As we can see, everything's looking great. Picture, date of birth, okay, and also hover effect. Wow, looking great. And now let's quickly preview our third and last step. Okay, so this is also looking great. And now let's quickly start our prototyping. So for the prototyping, as you can see, this screen buttons is like animating, so we need to click first on prototype tab and then click on the button specific. Okay, so let's zoom in and let's double click to select the button. Now we need to click this plus, link it to the step 1 page. Okay, so this will be on click. Also the destination is okay, and instead of push animation, let's make it smart animate and ease in, ease out, and 300. We can use like dissolve, and I think normally default application dissolve are looking great, so let's make it dissolve and ease in, ease out 300. So let's quickly check our first link, and as we can see, our screen is loading and logo is animating, text and button. Okay, now let's see the hover effect, and once I click, so dissolve, and now we are in step 1. Okay, so this is how we need to link each page. And now let's click on this first step and simply link it to the second step. Okay, now let's check properties. So on click, and instead of dissolve, let's try push. So as we can see, move in and move out, push and slide in, slide out. Okay, so let's try push, and also check this animate matching layer, and also curve 300 is fine. And let's quickly test. So let's click on this, and as we can see, once I click, so now on screen 2, now click this button and link it to the fourth. As we can see, navigate, push, and for the step process, this is great. We can also use move in, move out. Let's try move out for this, and we will see which one is working, so we will apply it. Okay, so let's click, and as we can see, move out. So I think we will stick with the push. Okay, and everything is looking great. Now let's quickly again preview. As we can see, our home screen is loading, button is working, and let's click on button, looking great. Name and password, check, uncheck, click, picture, and celebrate. Okay, and let's quickly update slightly. So as we can see here, we have status bar. So for the status bar, let's create copy. As we can see, we create copy, so command X. Let's select our status bar and home indicator. maybe we can just delete this and right click on status bar, paste to replace, okay, and send it to back. Now let's press shift space bar. So as we can see, our status bar and home indicator is also animating. So let's do for the rest of the pages, paste to replace, send it back, and as we can see, it animating, looking great. So let's try send it to back, working great, because here as we can see there is blur. So okay, great. Now let's paste to, okay, first we need to delete home indicator, and now right click, paste to replace, shift space bar, and as we can see, our status bar and home indicator is animating. Okay, so for this screen, what I'm thinking that maybe we can animate our this title and button. Okay, so as we can see, we have these two elements. So let's copy, paste it here, and we need to copy the exact screen. So let's, now first we need to create title animation, this animation, and then we will follow the button animation. Okay, so for the title animation, let's double click or maybe just expand this. Okay, so now as we can see here, we have title and subtext. Okay, so let's copy this text, select title and paste. Now same for this screen, select title and paste text, select title and paste text. As we can see, it's working great. So now let's select this subtext. Okay, copy, and for this screen here is text, and let's paste text. For this screen, paste text. For this screen, paste text. Now we will simply select with the option key and simply drag copy, and now let's command X, send the status bar to the back and also background. Now select the text and paste to replace. Okay, and now here is our title. Let's check the timing. So click on prototype, and here as we can see 5000, which is too much, so let's try 1000, and let's quickly preview. Looking great. And the same thing we will do for the button. So select button, and here is the button. Now let's click on this button, click on the design, and here we will change the text, go to dashboard. Okay, copy the text. Now select this button and paste text here, dashboard. Now we will do the same thing with the option key, copy, command X, and select button, paste to replace, center line. Okay, now let's preview it again. Everything's looking great. Okay, so the buttons take too much time. Let's quickly reduce the time. Okay, so let's try 3 seconds. Okay, now let's check the preview, and okay, let's try 2000. Shift space bar, and as we can see, it's looking great, and we have confetti animation. Okay, so now let's simply select it and place it here. Okay, so now let's quickly replay again, and as you can see, this is our get started screen. Looking great. Click, this is home screen. Step 1, everything's looking great, everything's working. Check, and picture, everything's looking perfect. Step 3, congratulations, and here we are with our exciting flow. Okay, so this is how we did prototyping and also the micro animation, and also same time we focus on interaction and prototyping. Hope you like the tutorial. Please let me know in the comments, and also like the video, share and subscribe. Thank you.